people need to know that the timing should have been, they should have gotten their package last Tuesday or Wednesday. If they didn't mail it last Friday or Saturday, it's not going to get there Monday. If they haven't mailed it, do they need to know they can drop it off at church? They know about the mail squad?
At every occasion, I indicated that the mail slot is around the corner from the lower entrance to the fellowship hall, around the corner from the church library. So as often as I could, I have pointed that out.
Good.
Is there anyone who
And I
hasn't
know
gotten
your quorum is only limited number of people, so obviously you'll get that, but it's just a matter of everybody having a chance. So,
yeah.
Okay.
Ken Johnson.
Yes, we're going to be dropping our envelope off later this morning, this afternoon at the church. If anyone who is concerned about getting it there in time, we'd be happy to pick it up from your home and drop it off with ours. Just contact us.
That is wonderful.
Thank you very much. Okay, so Keith, is that Keith Johnson and Pat?
Yeah.
Yes, but Nancy is raising her hand. Nancy.
I was hoping to get some feedback from the executive committee on their thoughts about the mortgage options. I was too.
So the committee, the council considered various options, not just the two that were there, but there were a couple other ones, including a full payoff. The question arose primarily because we are looking at monthly expenses and we're looking at monthly income, and we're trying to be certain that we have sufficient income or sufficient reserves for making sure our monthly expenses are met. The Finance Committee looked very closely at keeping the mortgage as it was with its monthly amount, and then also considered a couple alternatives which would allow the monthly amount to go down. The primary goal there would be to assure that we have adequate income to meet the resources, or meet the expenses. Amy's here, and Linda, who both were part of the Finance Committee. Do either of you want to add to that?
I can say that Troy did extensive research. There were 4 different options we looked at, and Finance and Executive narrowed it down to these 2 that we thought were the best options to present to everybody. And, we're just, looking to be able to make our monthly expenses without drawing it out much longer than we have to. At this point, if we didn't do anything, we don't know, it would be some major changes or something, because we can't afford to bring our employees back with our current income.
That was the big point I was going to make.
Yeah.
We want to have our staff come back and help poor Pastor Gobby from drowning in all the work and have some more, assistance, more programs open.
Dogs are up front. Could I ask a few questions?
Hold on, can I get one more thing in? So it was already pointed out that with the current giving levels, we don't have enough money for staff, but in addition, we also want to honor our promises that we made to our own charitable giving. So our synod and the money that the synod gives to ELCA churchwide. So if we want to be able to give our benevolences, we also need to kind of free our finances a bit.
Let me add one more. So the 2 votes there are to remain with the mortgage payments as they are, and they'll be paid off in August of 21, or to pay off part of it and refinance the balance of it, which will take us out a few more years beyond that. That doesn't mean that
3 years.
That doesn't mean that as we get into next year and the giving is sufficient, we still could pay off the mortgage in August of 21 versus 3 years later. So there's going to be no prepayment penalty. If we elect to do the refinance on part of it, we still could elect to make payment in full by August of 21, which is what the current mortgage is. So we're not precluded from that. This is a way to create about a $4,000 difference each month in the meantime.
There were 3 options, actually. Do nothing, refinance the entire thing for 3 years, pay off 25%, and refinance 75%.
Right.
for 3 years, and
And 50%.
No, it was 25%.
So,
all organizations.
okay, so Bruce had a question, or a set of questions.
Hopefully you can hear me. I had to head outside. When I read the 3-month thing, I'm just wanting to make sure I'm correct. Assuming we pay our June one because we're not going to get it done, then we have to wait 3 more months after that. That's $25,000 off the $90,000 the mortgage. So there's only going to be $65,000 left by the time this new mortgage takes place. Is that correct?
The 3-month deferral are you referring to?
He's saying
It says in the voting companion, it says it's taking over 3 months to process a loan. But during those 3 months, we've got to keep paying our $6,000 a month. So we're only going to have 11 months left by the time we start this new mortgage. And the numbers in the that are being presented are for $90,000, but it's probably only be a $65,000 loan at that point because we would have paid $25,000 of it off in the next 4 months. Also, and my second comment is if we had $23,000 to pay to lower the cost, if we use that for 6 months, $4,000 apiece, then we'd only be down to $5,000 or 5 months left of that mortgage without refinancing. And I appreciate the opportunity to be able to still pay it off in August of 21. That would be a great goal. But if we do refinance, we're out $1,000 for the fees, it looks like. And I couldn't see what other fees we might be paying on the refinance. The two options look like they'd cost us $5,000 or $6,000 if we just went through with them. And I think that needs to be clear for the people who are voting. You know, sure, it's great to have this extra time, but it's costing us money to get that extra time. And I'm not sure everybody has looked at that.
I have a question.
Hold on, let Amy respond to this first.
Bruce, first of all, the 3 months, it does take approximately 2 to 3 months for everything to get processed, but Thrivent has a program right now where for 3 months we can pay interest only, and we're working on that. So for the next 3 months, we have just interest only payments, and while we calculate the votes that come in and see which option is going to be best for us and which we're going to go with in that aspect. So the balance is not going to go down much in that 3-month period. So the figures that were sent out are close to accurate. The June payment was made before we got the approval for that 3-month deferral. So there's about $5,000 that'll come off of that for, and the next 3 months are interest only, and while we figure this out.
So it's going to be about $85,000 mortgage or $84,000?
Probably somewhere in that range. I don't have the figures exactly in front of me, but yes, in that range. And the reason we were looking at these options is, you know, we don't want to, you know, we need to be able to make our monthly bills. Right now, we're running on average of about a $3,000 to $5,000 deficit each month, and that's with significant cuts and people and some of our staff being temporarily furloughed. And when people come back, you know, we can't meet our bills and do all this, so we're trying to figure out a way where we can meet our income meets our expenses. And if things get better and we can make the extra payments to get it paid off sooner, yes, that's definitely a priority.
Thank you.
So Carol, actually, hold on, Carol Crespo raised her hand. I see you, Diane, you will be next.
Okay. I just think that there must be some savings in that we're going to get a lower interest rate on if we refinance than the 4.75 that we're paying now. Is that correct?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Amy, do you have the information?
I'm looking right now.
Amy is looking.
Well, tell me pick number 2.
Okay.
Hold on.
Good. Hold on.
In the handout, it said it went from 4 down to 3% about.
3.15%.
3.15.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So, Diane.
if we refinance, is there a prepayment penalty if we decide we come up with
No.
this? What's the
Absolutely none. And that's one of the things that's one of the things that we made sure was factored in. No prepayment penalty, so if we are able to pay it off sooner, we can.
And Diane, before you came on, Robin addressed that issue and said our goal is still to pay, if we are able financially to pay it off by the deadline, but this would buy us the option at least not to do that if we are short of funds. But there is no prepayment penalty. Dave?
Can I make a statement real quick? I'm out of trouble getting onto the meeting. I tried immediately after church. It took this long. There may be others out there trying to get on too.
I don't see anybody waiting. And anybody who wants to come on, by the way, can also come on via Facebook Live. We are streaming this right now, so we are on 2 different cameras.
Good. Can I go back for a moment, Bruce, to your comment? I want to underscore that the reason this even became something to consider is not because any one of us wanted to continue the mortgage. Everyone's goal, as I know it, is to pay off by August of 21. This became a short-term problem with a sort of a hybrid approach to it. The refinance, it will lower not only the interest rate, but will save roughly $4,000 a month. But I still would expect that as the ship rights itself and we don't have the financial constraints each month, our commitment, at least my commitment, would be to make sure this still is paid off when it was originally intended to. This is not in any way just a reason to extend the mortgage.
That sounds great. My comment, I don't know if Amy would have this. Do you know how much giving us the flexibility to do this would cost us if we pay it off on our original time? Is it like $1,000?
Are you asking what the fees are for the refinance?
Well, yeah. How much is it going to cost us just to get the flexibility?
Let's see here.
I saw $910 one place, but I think there was mentioned there were some other costs.
Well, if we refinance the existing balance, our additional interest cost would be about $5,000, $49.92 if we did not, pay it off early. If we did the partial payoff and refinance, our additional interest would be $3,700. I don't know if there are any additional fees in that. I do not, let's see here. In the handout that was sent out, there is a note Troy put on here saying that additional loan costs could include title report and recording fees depending on the underwriting requirements. So we do not have exact figures on that at this point. We would have to figure out which option we want to go with and start the process, and then at that point we would get exact dollar amounts on fees, is my understanding.
Well, it's at least $910 because that's the 1% he has there. So to get flexibility, it's going to be at least $910. If we pay it off on time, that's great, and if we don't, we're adding $4,000 or $5,000 over 3 years.
Exactly, but we'll be able to make our monthly payments each month without if anything, we're already making a lot of other cuts in the budget. There's really no other place we could cut, and we've been I can't remember a month in the last fiscal year where we've been in the positive without a special donation, a special giving. So we've had to borrow from money market on occasion. We've had special givings, but it's been very tight, and it's been something we've looked at and been trying to cut things each month, going back all fiscal year.
Okay, we were looking for a moment all at Lois Ocella's screen.
Oh.
That's what the mystery was.
Pastor Gabby, you forgot to make an announcement.
Which one?
Did I get my housing? I get my housing voucher on Tuesday to get my own place.
Okay, that is true.
She just made the announcement.
You just made it. That's why, Tanya, that's why I'm asking also others for announcements. People who want me to say something can say something through the comment section at the time.
I emailed it. I emailed and asked you to.
Yes,
but you forgot.
I know, but it's not easy to be on camera and remember everything from text stuff to announcements. Okay.
Yeah, it's over by,
We saw that
so
today.
I hope probably by August.
Dave Warmer had his hand up for quite some time. Dave?
Yes, I think one thing that should be addressed is if you look at the two options, one refinancing the whole 90,000, and the other paying the 23,000 and refinancing the 68,000 basically. The additional 23,000 would come from the money market. And so my question was, and I think it's, I'm not sure it's answered in the balance sheet that was sent out, is how much money do we have in the money market? And when I say that, the balance sheet says that our total assets, for example, is 176,000, and in the one money market we have 111.
Hold on.
So that's about 115,000, for example. But what's not answered in here, I don't see, is of that money market, 115,000, how much is already allocated? In other words, it's a liability. For instance, if you have dated funds, those are not necessarily eligible to consider liquid that you would be drawing the 23 grand from. If you have the endowment fund that is sitting in the money market, then that is an amount of money that cannot be considered liquid to draw that 23,000. My only concern is, and I'm not objecting one way or the other, my only concern is that if we were to take that $23,000 out of the money market for the partial payoff refinancing, how much are we going to actually have left in the money market available to us, so to speak, for the general fund?
Okay, Dave.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense, and I think Amy is ready to answer that question.
Currently in the money market, we have,
Gotta talk louder.
Okay.
Here, take this. It should be on, I hope.
Currently in the money market, I don't have the statements in front of me, but we have, approximately between 115 and 120,000 in there. Of that, about 45 to 50,000 is either general fund or undesignated. So we do have more than the 23 available to use for this. It will not completely drain our undesignated funds. It will not touch memorials or anything that is designated for specific causes or events. Does that answer your question?
So what I hear you saying is after you pay out the 23 grand to pay down for the refinance, you'd have about 25,000 or so still left in the money market that is, so to speak, free cash.
Roughly in that amount, yes.
Okay.
There's also 40,000 one checking account and 20,000 another checking account.
Those are used for our general operating expenses, and we're in the process of consolidating those two accounts, so it'll be down to one within the next 30 days. We're just waiting for some last-minute outstanding checks to clear.
that a pretty large balance for this time of the month, or is that normal to have 60,000 in checking?
It is a little larger than normal. We left a larger chunk in the old account for the time being so that we could make sure we didn't have anything outstanding and everything went through. And then we will be moving it over and using it to pay our bills and any other expenses that come up that are needed. And benevolence payments and everything else.
So just on that note, there were some benevolence payments that were suspended until we knew that we could meet our monthly expenses. We did take care of the service charities. The Synod had not been paid its amount for the number of months, and we're getting to the point where we'd be seeing if that could be paid off. So Bruce, to your point, there's more in that account than probably is generally carried, but that is because there's some benevolences due against it.
Which are in the process of being caught up in full.
Thank you again.
Okay. Other questions? I don't see.
I didn't quite understand all of it, but Wallace, he started owning his own houses when he was 18 years old, and he's 67 now, and he's got some rental properties. I made him sell one of them for $300,000 because I got tired of working on it. No, so he's thinking about maybe getting into our church in the future and becoming part of our
wonderful.
church. And,
Tanya, can we move back to the business part of the meeting, please? I really am glad that.
I don't understand most of that stuff.
Okay. If you, Dave, would you be able to explain things to Tanya if she has questions?
I got my thing to study. Wallace helped me study it.
Okay, Dave?
Okay. I think, but Tanya, you can't.
On your own,
you can't make this decision based on. You can't make this decision based on whether Wallace is going to join our church.
No. But if Tanya needs clarification, hi, Tanya. If Tanya needs clarification, can she ask Dave on her own privately, not at this meeting?
I'll do that.
Okay, thank you. So, any other questions about?
Just one other comment. To have what it amounts to. I mean, this is a different perspective to look at it, I guess. And I'm talking about the total refinance, the 90,000 rather than the 68,000. To have $3,500 or $3,600 a month available to us, or
freed up.
Not having the debit of $3,600 a month costs us $140 a month.
Okay.
Yes.
If you take what the total cost of increasing the loan, if you will, and you divide it by 36, which is the 3-year period, the difference in the payments of not refinancing and refinancing is $3,600 a month.
So
it costs us $140 to have that $3,600 a month available to us.
That makes sense. The number would go down even if we pay this off early.
Which is
Absolutely.
our goal, to pay it off early.
Absolutely.
This is just buying us time if needed.
But for the short term at least,
yes.
to have the opportunity to not be underwater by $3,600, I guess $138 a month is probably a fair price, a fair trade-off.
I think so too. Can I just say something? We are lots of people with lots of different perspectives and opinions. I want to give a shout out to the current church council. When they got elected, some 3 years ago, 1 year ago, none of them thought that they have to go through these kinds of questions. They have led us remarkably well, and they deserve our praise, our gratitude, and one way of showing that gratitude is kind of constructive questions and making sure that your question is focused on the content and cannot be mistaken as a criticism of a person or so. So anyway, but I am really, really grateful to have that many amazing leaders available to strategize with and to help carry the burden. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for leading us as well.
You're welcome.
So I think the question on this mortgage, there are options there on purpose. The questions you've all asked have been very, very helpful, very fruitful.
Why don't you just bring the bike and helmet up?
When you vote, just remembering that this was a short-term answer to what we hope is a short-term problem.
Stop it, Cornelia, mute yourself.
Actually, to pass them going to security and mute everybody, that would probably help.
Ken Johnson has a question.
Okay, before he asks this, I want you to see something. I don't know whether you can actually, but we have donut holes.
Tom Worth,
I even got my little extra bag of donut holes from Scott.
No fair.
Was there another question?
Yes, I'd like to speak in favor of the second option, and let me explain why. First of all, I communicated with Troy Malaspino during the week, and one of my questions to him was, if we draw down $24,000 out of the money market fund, would any of those funds be restricted that we would need to give release, so to speak? And his reply was no. None of the $24,000 is restricted. One of my thoughts is that's money sitting idle, so to speak, in the money market fund in these, let's say, austere times that we're going through. Why should we leave money sitting idle when it can be used? Another point is that another reason I speak in favor of option 2 is that would also give us the lowest monthly payment of the two options. And again, in these austere times, the lower the payment, probably the better we are. So those are just my comments. Thank you.
And you know what else? We all have to realize that if we're going to get back to church, we have to hire our staff back. Pastor Gabi cannot do this all by herself, which is basically what she's doing.
Yes.
And we have to we have to, have hope and faith that one of these days we're going to be back, and I want us to be complete.
Yeah.
I don't want us to have half staff or whatever, because I feel so badly for those that we've had to furlough. We made a dent in their lives, and it's not a good time right now for this country or this church, but to me, we have to have hope and faith that in the near future we'll be back again.
I'm still doing security there when I can.
Thank you, Tanya. That is really awesome.
I was going to say, well,
Thank you.
Ken and Kathy, thank you.
I guess I would ask one other thing to think about. If we would have our own mortgages on our homes, and we had an opportunity to reduce an interest rate significantly, 1.5% at least, we all might consider doing that, just for the use of the money. So that's how I was looking at it. Again, not planning to go for 3 more years on the mortgage. But if just the interest rate alone dropped, I think is important.
Okay, another question on the mortgage. We had 2 numbers to vote on. the 90,000 and the 60-something thousand. If somebody were to give a donation toward the principal, are we stuck with those numbers, or could we finance a lower number?
There is no prepayment penalty, so what we could do is, let's say we go with option 2 and we refinance, the 67,000, and then if somebody gives a donation that they want to go towards the principal, we can send that in directly towards the principal, and that will help it get paid off sooner. Does that answer your question?
No. No, my question is, if we put some money toward the principal now, before you start doing the paperwork.
My screen is frozen.
Let me finish my question. Would that mean that we could apply for a different number, or are we stuck with 90 or 67?
No, these numbers are not locked in. These are the numbers that were figured out based on the current balance.
Answer your question, Diane. If money was contributed toward that and reduced the principal before we got started, the answer is council would look at that and we would do the best to see what different payments, et cetera, we could do. So yes to your answer.
We're not stuck with those two numbers.
No, and I perceive this vote, which, again, these numbers came out before we knew that we could also continue, have that 3-month deferral. What we really, I think, are looking for is the congregation's overall desire, what we are doing with the money. As these other options may come in, council will sit and talk about it, vote on it, and with finances input, of course, communicate to the congregation as well. This is too critical of an issue just to kind of go off into the sunset on. So, long-winded answer, yes. If a contribution came in, it would change numbers, and we would look all that to see what we could do that would be best for the situation.
Okay, thank you.
So this mail-in voting obviously has limitations. If we were to have an annual meeting the regular way, there would be amendments to motions and amendments to amendments, and we would all have a live conversation. We cannot do that in the mail. This was the best we could come up with. The process has its limitations, but I think we all can be assured that the council just has the best interest of the congregation in mind. And we have a great number of really passionate and talented people on the council. Dave, I see your hand up.
Well, wait a minute, I want to add one more thing.
Yeah.
We would, of course, be guided by how the vote came out. If you voted for number 1 or if you voted for number 2, we would look at that, and that would be our guidance.
Yeah. Dave?
I don't think anybody is really arguing not to refinance. The only question is, which way do you do it? With the 23,000 down payment, if you will, or paying it down, or going for the full 90,000. And I will say that what Ken brought up is, if you pay it off, use the 23,000 out of the money market, essentially, instead of getting 0.5% interest on leaving it in the money market, you're getting 4.75% interest, because that's what you've eliminated by using that from the existing loan.
Yep, that's an interesting perspective.
It would be the same as getting 4.75% interest on that money versus leaving it in the money market.
Cool.
Yep. If the money market was making 4.75% interest, then it might not make sense to pay out that extra 23,000. But if you're paying out the 23,000, you haven't cost yourself anything from the money market, because the money market isn't making you any interest anyway. There isn't a bank alive right now that's paying interest over 0.5%.
Keith Johnson had his hand up.
Yes, Pat and I took a look at these options, and we basically came up with the same conclusion that Ken did about the fact that the second option is the best option. It's for cash flow, it's the best for cash flow, and also what the argument just made, I think, by you about the fact that the money market interest rate is so low.
That's good, very good point.
Yes.
Yeah.
I also would say that, as depending what the vote comes out, before anything else is done, the council will be discussing any of these issues, whether it's a contribution or adding now the 3-month deferral, and there will be communication to everyone, and I would say probably before the council makes a final vote, because all of your input is so important. This will be something that I think we're gonna wanna have more input on as there's decisions, being made.
And the first meeting of the new council, the last meeting of the old is this coming Thursday. So actually, we are on the 11th, so we are actually able to follow up very quickly.
And finance will be meeting before then on Tuesday, so the votes will be counted tomorrow. Finance will be meeting Tuesday and be able to give their recommendation based on the votes to council for Thursday's meeting.
But having said that, if anybody's wanting to make a contribution, it'd be great to know it.
Diane?
The rates themselves are locked, yes?
At the moment, but it's a loan commitment, but it is not, if we wait too long and they change it, so it's probably a 30-day commitment.
I don't know, Troy has that information, but I know they are locked in for a certain time period for us to figure out which direction we're going.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
I said that.
They're locked in, they're locked
rate-
in for the time being, but you can't dilly-dally about making your decision. It's the long and the short of it.
Like any other loan, there's a commitment period, and let's say it's 30 days, but we need to decide within the next week and a half or 2 weeks what we think we're gonna do. Otherwise, the rates may go up. They also could go down
Right.
again, but we do have a window of commitment.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I have a suggestion. We need a black wrought iron fence to close off the front of our church.
Okay, that costs a lot more money than we have, and what is the signal that it sends to the world? Plus, there's no fence whatsoever that will stop people.
You know what, Tanya, that idea is something that really the property committee and the safety subcommittee can be taking up. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if nobody else has questions, I think we can
I have one question, sorry, one more question. How long are you gonna wait for potential donations before you lock in a new mortgage cost?
Well, there is a council meeting this Thursday. Once we know what the vote is, we will make the preliminary steps. But as I'm saying, if there is just somebody'd like to make a donation, maybe before Thursday at 6 o'clock would be great. If not,
There you go.
and if someone does it later, that's okay.
You could have a couple-week pay down the mortgage thing, so that would lower the mortgage cost. So it gets the impression that somebody might be willing to pay something, and if you're tying them to 3 days, that's not very much. But if you have 30 days, I'm not sure why we'd lock in before,
What I'm saying is the council will start to, if the vote is in favor of this and the council still, and finance still believes it's the right way to go, we start the paperwork and the process. That doesn't happen in one day. That'll take some period of time, a couple weeks, I would say, Amy.
At least, because
So,
we were told it would be
probably looking at 2 to 3 weeks before.
3 month process for it to be completed.
Yeah, that's go through underwriting, a number of things like any other loan does. So really, let's say 3 weeks.
I understand.
But again, if a donation comes in after that, well, then we would look at whether you pay down some more principal or what happens. But I didn't mean to suggest if we don't know by Thursday, don't do it. I didn't mean that at all. I was just trying to spur along any communication, but ideally within 2 to 3 weeks.
Thank you.
There's another hand up. Is that Carol?
Tony, wait a
I have a
minute.
question about voting itself. Are you worried about meeting the rules for getting a quorum and things like that?
Not really. I think the turnout is such that the number of people that have already indicated they will be voting, we have already received cards based on the envelopes, or so I think people have already submitted their votes. There's at least a dozen already there. In sealed envelopes.
And I've got my families and my parents,
Yeah.
I'm bringing tomorrow night.
So I don't think we have that issue.
Well, but to be clear, we know it's an issue, so the minutes of a meeting, because it'll be the executive committee looking at the votes tomorrow, the minutes of that meeting will be very clear as to whether a quorum was met or not.
And the number of cards will determine
Yes.
how many people, and in fact, if that's because you voted, therefore, all the number of votes we get, or cards we get, will be the number we say attended.
Well, we're trying to decide whether to drive down the hill or not.
Oh.
Who said that?
To bring your vote.
Who?
Yeah.
Carol and Tom Ken.
Yeah, Carol Ken.
Okay. Can you take do you have a scanner? Because if you can scan it, email it to me, I will print it, put it in the sealed envelope, and drop it at the church, and take it to the church tomorrow when we can.
It's at our other house. We'd have to drive down anyway. It's no big deal.
I can email you a copy of it.
Well, one more question along those lines. I'm curious as to, we got the stewardship mailing came up here.
No, it didn't.
No. Oh, that's right. No, they both came down there. So we would just like to change our mailing address.
Yeah, we need to change our address.
Okay, that is what we have in our database currently as your preferred address, but I'm more than happy to change this.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
Tom and Carol, without having to drive down here, we can send you the card, you can do it, scan it back or fax it back, right?
Yeah.
And we can take care of that as a vote.
Count that as a vote, yeah.
Okay, Diane?
Okay, I have a request. For the many that aren't here and listening to all this, Bruce's idea of people who might have an extra chunk of money and be able to spend down our principal, could an email go out letting them know what we discussed and how this came about sooner rather than later, like before Thursday? I mean, all of us have a little extra money because we're not spending it on gas, going out to eat, haircut, toenails, any of that. There's a little bit for just about everybody. Trips haven't been going on. Maybe we could come up with some. Until I got the letter, I had no idea this was even being thought. If I had, I might have put something in earlier because I do have some extra because I don't eat out at all anyway. So.
Yes, we can do that. I can work on something, and I can also do something else. Make a recording available of this conversation to anybody who wants to see it, and email the link to that recording. It will not be completely public to the world, but everybody on our mailing list would have the opportunity to follow this conversation.
Great.
So between the two, that should help, I think.
Okay, I'm going to try, if Hard Rock Casino honors my $40 voucher, which I've been trying to get a hold of them every day because I'll be up there on Wednesday, if they honor my $40 voucher that I had before I went on our church camp out in Tahoe last year, and I can cash it in when I'm up there this Wednesday, I may do what I can to drop off some money at the church on the way back home.
Thank you very much, Tanya. That is really very kind of you.
Very much, thank you.
Depending on how late me and Wallace are coming back.
Good.
I'd like to be back before dark.
Any other questions about the annual voting process or mortgage, anything else? Then I suggest that... What? Who was that?
Thank you for working through all this.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
If I win the lotto, I'll donate.
Then I suggest whoever wants a regular coffee hour, checking in with one another, I leave this link on. Talk amongst yourselves.
Thank you all for all your comments. Have been very helpful.
I think I'm off now. Thank you.
Dr. Bobby?
Okay.
Dr. Bobby?
Yes?
Did you need to say anything about the resolutions?
About the resolutions, yes, I do. Number one, we forgot a staff member to mention in there in one of the resolutions. We forgot our previous accountant in there.
Oh, Dana?
Dana. So I will make sure that the future mailing will have the acknowledgement of Dana's many, many years of service in there. so that is an oversight, my oversight, and nobody caught it. So, yes. Other resolutions, any questions? Okay. Good. Then coffee hour. Thank you.